What's up, chess fam, and welcome back to this recap show. This is recap of round 6 of the Tata Steel Masters, and it was quite an action-packed day with two decisive results and plenty of interesting moments from the round 6 at the Tata Steel Festival in Wykenzie, Netherlands. So let's jump right into the results of round 6. So MVL Tari was a draw. Van Foreest beat David Anton after a blunder by the Spanish star and Spanish number one. And then in the other result, Firouzja managed a fantastic winning attack, that including a king run for Donchenko, who is a newcomer to Tata Steel. And the other games, Carlsen had a sniff of a chance against Duda but didn't quite manage. Remember, Duda had beaten Carlsen to break his 125 game unbeaten streak, whereas Indian hope Hari Krishna drew Wojtaszek, as we'll see in our segment Check In with Hari, while Esipenko and Dutch star Anish Giri ended in a rather timid skirmish, whereas Nils Grandelius drew Fabiano. Like, Nils was down and out, but he kept fighting, kept fighting, and managed to make a draw in the end against the world number 2 and co-leader Fabiano Caruana. So not major shake-up in the standings, but yes, we have Van Foreest climb in and join the leaders pack. Niels Grandelius, the Swedish star who started with 2 out of 2, is still a leader with 4 out of 6. And Firouzja also, after having a start of half out of 2, has now just managed to join in with the joint second place along with Van Foreest because of their consecutive wins, especially for Alireza. And at the very end, we see Donchenko struggling a little bit. This is where we see the difference of, those elite players versus a sub 26, a 2700 player. And yes, Donchenko is 2670, but this is the minor difference that we are seeing. And let's jump in right. Let's jump right in with our first segment, that is Check In with Hari. So Hari Krishna was playing Polish number 2 now because Duda is Polish number 1, Radoslav Wojtaszek here, and he started off with the Queen's Pawn opening, and we had a Ragozin kind of defense in the Queen's Gambit, and quite a normal opening. Both the players seemed very well prepared. As you guys know, Wojtaszek was also Vishy Anand's second for a long time, and with him for all the world championships as well before he lost it to Carlsen. And yes, in this position, Hari Krishna is trying to make use of the A lion here, and he has a tiny bit of advantage, as you can see on the bar on the left. But it's not really enough, as you guys know. In to win a game of chess, especially at the higher levels, you need a minimum of 2 weaknesses. But I just see these pawn structures can be called as one weakness, but it is just not enough, as we see in the game later on as well. This bishop is luckily outside of the pawn chain. If this bishop would have been on b7, then I would say that's a bad bishop. But here, this bishop enjoys this beautiful long diagonal, as well as it stops white from doubling as well. And yes, game goes on a little bit before Hari Krishna gets a slight chance here, I would say. You can see he gets his rook on the 7th. This rook is rather passive here, but again, it is that point, that only concept of one weakness, guys. And yes, he is looking to liquidate as expected here, and Hari gets a weakness here, but again, that one weakness theory is so true. And finally, we enter a rook endgame, guys. And if you haven't heard Cyber Tarash's famous words, that is, all rook endgames are drawn, this is just proving true to that statement made many years ago. As you can see, Hari is trying with his king, but like, to be honest, there is nothing more. You, like, black can just chill, just not make any weaknesses, just move his rook. Whereas the point is, white's rook here and white's king here are on their best squares, so there is just absolutely no way to improve their position. And that is why, after a little bit of tickling, finally the game ends in a draw in repetition. Of course, if Hari takes this pawn, then Wojtaszek takes on d4. Again, it's just 3 versus 3 on the king's side. I mean, nothing more here, and Hari would be relatively happy with the draw. He just keeps that space with the leaders, and yes, that just, he might make a late surge later, but a good result, I would say, for Hari. And now let's check in with our game-changing moment, guys, that happened in the Van Forest versus David Anton game. I mean, I will of course put these games in the link for you. And this is a game that had so many ups and downs. It is almost like an ECG graph that you can see. A normal Spanish opening here, but action starts to pick like in about 5-10 moves. Yes, this rook just is on h5, kind of misplaced, and Van Forest, credit to him, he fights it or he goes for it. He doesn't take the timid options here. And after e5, there are massive exchanges, and you see he has to give up the exchange because this queen is bad. G4 might trap the rook. Of course, you have rook h3, but I'll play king or rook h3 is not hanging. Sorry, and it looks difficult here. So he's compelled to give the exchange, and here it feels somehow that black should be lost, but he manages to fight, and David Anton creates something out of nothing almost. C2, rook takes h5. Of course, you can't take here because you're just an exchange done after when the smoke clears up. So even that's not possible. So rook h5, gh5, bishop takes c2, knight takes c2, queen e5. Guys, this is the game-changing moment that I was talking about. So white is, as you can see, white is about +1. That is, white has a 1 pawn advantage, because the point being this rook has to be is compensated by these two pieces, guys. And it feels, white might win, or this will be a long game, maybe 20-30 moves more, or even more than that. And Van Forest is fighting here. But after king g7, Jorden comes up with an interesting idea, rook e4, not threatening anything at all. I mean, if even black says pass, he's not losing. But in this moment, in time pressure, around the 36th move, guys, remember, they get additional time after the 40th move. And yes, David Anton blunders with bishop d3. Can you spot the win? You see the bar going on top. Just remember the CCT principle. Check captures threats. The check, the only decent check in this position wins the game. And Van Forest spots it, and Jorden is happy that Christmas has come early. A free piece with a check here, and absolutely nothing David Anton can do. And he resigned there. Absolutely, like a very, very nice game by Van Forest, but I don't think David Anton deserved to lose this. But this is what chess is all about. You have to be focused till the very end. And coming up with our last segment here, that is the tactical shot that we see between Donchenko and Firouzja. Very, very nice game, and by Firouzja always going for the aggressive opening choices. Let's have a brief look at the game before we stop for the tactical shot here. As you can see, Firouzja is already eyeing, those weakened squares on the king side, pushing his pawns as well here. And now you can see threatening maiden 1 stops that, pawn to f6. Now these rooks would like to jump in, maybe, sorry, this rook and this rook can also help out to push these pawns here. And bishop d4, knight e4 gets in. Sort of an equal position, but these pawns are too annoying. I mean, these are connected passed pawns, whereas this pawn is stopped. Plus, the black king can cover, but the white king is too far away to cover these pawns. After rook a3, and also this is just 2 squares away from queening, and here the queen is defending, whereas here black has 2 rooks plus the king to cover this pawn. And yes, now we come to the tactical segment, guys. Pawn to b2. What a move by Firouzja, giving up his passed pawn to make way for his rooks. Queen b2, rook a b8, and now he gets first of his rooks. And now what to do when you are attacking? Bring a new piece. Yes. Now he wants to take and give another check probably. After queen f2, it's sadly too little too late. Check, bring the new piece in. And now this is a very, very instructive moment for you guys. We are attacking. Of course, we don't want to exchange queens. But how do we exert maximum pressure? It is not always to go ahead. Sometimes you got to come back to spring forward. And that is what Firouzja does. With queen to b8. Boom! And this check is deadly. Coming back to use another angle here, and very nice geometry by Firouzja. Check. If you go king f2, I have rook f1. Check picks up the queen. King d2. I keep checking, and I pick up the rook. You get the bishop, but it's, look at this king. Poor little king. No shadow, no protection for him. After queen f1, Firouzja wins another game. Donchenko sadly is on the losing end here. But very very nice game. And Firouzja was playing from the black side here, and he joins the co-leader, the second place guys now, and is in for a real shot for his first Tata Steel win. Let's jump into our second last segment, that is the quick tips that I want you guys to learn is don't relax at any moment. That we learned from Van Foreest win against David Anton. You remember the Queen G3 check, picking up a piece in a rather equal position, or black had fighting chance for sure. And finally, you learned this from Firouzja's game, that once he got that initiative, after, especially after that pawn sack b2, he got his rook in, he got his rook in, he got another rook in, he traded a pair of rooks, then he brought his queen back for more to use another angle. Very nice geometrical idea there by Firouzja. So the point is, once you grab the initiative, finish your opponent. It's like almost a boxer. You don't want to relax. Keep throwing the punches and until you knock your opponent out. So these are quick tips for you guys, and definitely try to implement these two things in your games as well, and you will not be losing so easily, and you start winning plenty of more games. Finally, guys, our pairings for round 7. Again, action starts at 6:30 Indian Standard Time today. It's Fabiano versus MVL, Anish Giri versus Grandelius, the tournament leader, Wojciech Esipenko. This is the moment Indian fans are waiting for. It's Magnus Carlsen versus Hari Krishna, and I'm going to be watching at 6:30 on chess.com TV, as well as on Twitch on chess.com, as well as YouTube. Wherever you want to join, do join in. We have plenty more exciting guests, as well as our star commentators also. Firouzja Duda, Anton Donchenko. Anton Donchenko versus is going to be a nice game, because both of these struggling players, at least one might break through that rut. And finally, Aryan and Jorden Man Foreest, two young guys, very good friends, but they are going to definitely fight it out at that highest level. So join us at 6:30 for the live coverage with exclusive cameras and footage and live commentary, and a super exciting game. I'll bring you the round 7 recap tomorrow. Till then, it's Rakesh Okrani signing.